I quit my 6-figure job as a cardiology nurse practitioner. It wasn't easy, and it definitely wasn't what I planned for my life, but it was necessary because promises were made and then broken time and time again, because the work environment became so toxic that it didn't just drain my energy, it drained my passion, my purpose. And that's something that people don't talk about in healthcare, because you show up to work every single day to save lives, to help people. And then you turn around and the people that's supposed to be leading you, they don't value you. And that is a different type of pain. I spent years training for this, so I want to take a moment to put things into perspective so that you can understand how hard of a decision this was for me. When I was in my 20s, I met a cardiologist that was a woman. And at that point, I had never seen a woman that was a cardiologist, because that was a field that was predominantly dominated by men. So I was working on the unit, and she basically told me to watch the monitor because she was going to do some sort of maneuver to see if this patient needed a pacemaker. Long story short, she did it. I saw the pause. I let her know. And she basically was like, hey, sir, you're going to need a pacemaker tomorrow, so I'm going to put you on my schedule. So I was like, whoa. I was like, man, that was so cool. And in my mind, it's like I automatically knew I want to work with this team and I want to work with her, because in my head, again, I'm in my 20s. So I was thinking that is the coolest thing that I've seen up to that point. Right. So I want you to understand that it wasn't a decision that came lightly. And it was something that I knew from the moment I saw that. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew exactly what I wanted to go to school for. And I knew exactly who I wanted to be my mentor moving forward. So it definitely was long hours. It was emotionally exhausting days, and it was filled with life and death decisions. But the part that slowly wore me down, it wasn't the medicine. Not in and of itself. It wasn't the medicine. It was the system. It was constantly being short-staffed, and it never seemed to get better. It didn't matter how hard I worked, how much overtime I picked up. Nothing ever seemed to work. And it was constant pressure to do more with less. And every single time you had like a day off, it was like, hey, can you work this shift? Can you do a 24-hour shift? Can you work call? Can you do this? And it was constantly that, over and over and over again. And the leadership, the leadership would say, oh, we hear you. Oh, we value you. Oh, there's nothing that you could do to make us want to let you go or to fire you. Like a leadership member literally said, a person in administration literally said to my face, you could commit murder and there's no way that we would let you go. Like, what? Who says that? But I always knew that no matter what the situation was, I would never be bigger than the program. And it didn't matter how many promises they made. It didn't matter how much they told us, how they valued us. Nothing would change. They did nothing to change the situation. And I can remember one promise in particular. And to be honest, the group of APPs that I work with, and that's advanced practice providers, for people that don't know, like, we never even brought it up. They brought it up to us because they said they saw how hard we were working and they saw how much we had given to the company. So they wanted to make sure that they took care of us. So that's how that whole thing started. And they told us not only would we get additional support, that we would get better schedules. And they also said that the better schedules meant more time off. And they also said that they would compensate us to the fullest for what we had done and what we were going to be asked to do. And that compensation was going to be like, so not necessarily so much, but it was going to be something that was something we couldn't refuse, basically. And then that never happened. They continued to talk to us about it. they continue to tell us that they're gonna pay us. And day by day, it's like not only myself, but I could feel the team starting to feel invisible. And I worked on the inpatient side. So the thing about it is that a lot of the team, and including myself, always felt like the inpatient side was kind of an afterthought. And, you know, it's not just necessarily feeling invisible as a worker, but feeling invisible as a person. Like that's where it got, because they stopped caring, or did. I don't even know if they ever really cared about if you were sick, if you had a death in the family, if you weren't feeling good, or if there was a certain situation where you couldn't be there. It was like you were met with this vitriol if you couldn't basically be there to be a zombie and do what they wanted you to do. And I have one example in particular. One of my coworkers was actually, like, I don't want to say harassed. I think that's a strong word, but I will say she was asked multiple times would she work an additional shift. She was already working a 12-hour shift, and we didn't have any night coverage. So they asked her, would she work the night coverage? And her only request was, well, I would like to, go home at some point when things slow down, to make sure that my dog is okay. She had just bought a dog. She said the dog walker couldn't come after a certain time. So she just wanted to go home at some point in time during the shift to make sure that her dog was okay. Do you know what she was met with? She was told that she could go check on her dog during the break, which was about 4 to 6. She could go check on her dog during that time, because it was no need to pay her if she wasn't going to be present and able to do what they needed her to do. Okay, I understand the payment part. Okay, fine. But she's doing you a favor. It's not the other way around. But I digress. So it was multiple incidents like that continued to pile up. And then one day, I sat in a meeting where the administration and our leadership team announced a new compensation model. And this was the very same meeting where one of the physicians said, the pay is the pay. And I'll link that video up here or right here somewhere where you can go back and watch that video. But basically, in the new compensation plan, it was going to be more responsibility, the exact same pay once we did the numbers, and no extra support. And all they did, which is funny to me now that I look back at it, all they did was literally move a whole bunch of numbers around and then say, hey, this looks so much better. We want you guys to go on this compensation model. It was never a raise. It wasn't anything. It was just, hey, we're going to switch these numbers, but we're going to add more responsibility. But when you really do the numbers, it's the exact same pay. And in that moment, I kind of panned the room. Like, I looked around the room to kind of see what everybody's reaction was from my team. And the funny thing about it is that no one looked surprised. No one was angry. No one slammed on the table. Everybody, in fact, looked relatively calm. Like, they had that, it was just a mental resignation. That's the look that everybody had. Kind of like, okay, I see where this is going, so there's no need for me to continue on this journey. And I've basically written resignation in my head. And that's when I realized that it wasn't going to change. It didn't matter how many great ideas we had. It didn't matter that we saw value in the company and what we can add to it. None of that mattered. And I realized that while nothing was going to change, neither was I if I stayed. Nothing I was going to do was going to help me become a better provider, was going to help me become a better person, was going to help me continue to want to practice in my passion. If I would have stayed, I feel like I would have lost all of that. Driving home that day, I felt something that I haven't felt in a very long time. It was like a mix of nervousness, but also clarity. Because I wasn't just tired anymore. I was done. I was done with the broken promises. I was done with the silence. And I was done losing myself to a system that never really cared about me anyway. And leaving was one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make. My career, my identity, my daily routine, it was all wrapped up in this job. This job that I had been at for 19 years. This job that my mother retired from. This job that when I was a little kid, I used to walk the halls with my mom. It was such a personal connection. So leaving was so hard. It was hard. And I was worried about what my family would think. You know, I talked to my mom. I was worried about what she would think. I was worried about my coworkers, the ones that I was leaving behind, and how they would feel, and them having an increased workload because I would no longer be there. I was worried. I was worried about if I was making a mistake. I was worried about that. And no, I did not quit my job to pursue YouTube. I would never do that, because to me, YouTube has never been about money. But yeah, I asked myself, am I making a mistake? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the thing that's best for me? And I don't know. We'll see, right? But the truth is, what I didn't know was I knew deep down inside that staying in that environment meant sacrificing my peace, my well-being, and my future. I was never going to be able to become the full person that I feel like I've been put on this earth to be while being in that environment at the same time. I knew that. I was never going to grow any more than what I have already grown. And not there. I was never going to grow any more at that point. And sometimes walking away is the most courageous thing that you can do. And it's knowing that it's not you quitting, it's you choosing yourself. And one of my best friends says this quote, and I need to ask him where he got it from, but he always say, the sun will rise and set on us all. And when is your time to leave? Whether it's a situation, whether it's this earth, whether it's a job, it's time. And it's nothing that is going to stand in your way if this is what you're supposed to do. You're going to be so sure about your decision that it doesn't matter what the situation is around you. You will know deep down in your gut that you're making the right decision. When I left, I didn't leave healthcare behind. I left the idea that I had to sacrifice everything to help others. I found space to breathe, to rediscover who I was outside of that environment. And that has been more powerful than any job title. So I just want you to know, if you are stuck in a job or a situation where promises are made and constantly broken, I want you to know that it is okay to walk away. That's not you quitting. That's actually you deciding to love yourself for once. That walking away could be the best thing that you could possibly do at that point, because the last thing you want to do is lose yourself in a situation that you cannot control. And I want you to comment and let me know if you've ever had to deal with a situation like that. Let me know your story in the comments, because I can assure you that people are probably dealing with the same thing. They're just too scared to talk about it. And I just want everybody to know that the thing about walking away is it's never an easy choice. it's something that you have to carefully think about and weigh all your options. So don't just quit out of nowhere. You need to plan, and you need to make sure that it's the right decision for you. But at the same time, you need to make sure that mentally you're okay with whatever decision you decide to make. And as always, I thank my followers, I thank my subscribers. I just want you guys to know that you're not alone, and that there are people that's going through the exact same thing. I appreciate y'all so much. If you would like this video, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe if you made it this far. Subscribe to the channel because you know you want to. I appreciate y'all so much. As always, my name is Naisha Nicole. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.